Hello, friends. Welcome to our next live session in our series of live sessions around the 2025 Community Solutions Program application period. Wherever you're joining us from, whatever time in the day it is, we thank you for making a little room to be here with us right now. We're excited to share this space with you. We have a really great conversation lined up with one of our recent alumni from the 2023 Community Solutions Program. Lovina Shaw from Jamaica, and Lovina, which I'll introduce shortly, is going to share a little bit about her experience in the program from the perspective of someone who applied for it, who went through the process that if you have started an application for CSP, you are in now, figuring out how to approach the essay questions, figuring out how to present your best self in the application, and then also what it is like to be a fellow. So kind of bare bones. Where do you live? What do you do in your community? What do you do with your organization? How do you figure that experience out, and what do you have to look forward to as a potential fellow in CSP? Before we get going, if you are completely new to the program and have no idea what this is, maybe this is the first time hearing about us, the Community Solutions Program is a year-long professional and a leadership development program for experienced community leaders who are addressing issues that are important in their community. And these range, they run the gamut. We have alumni and fellows who work on everything, and it's obviously all very context specific, but our fellows usually work within democracy and human rights, environmental issues, policing conflict resolution, and then women and gender issues. Those are really big umbrella categories. So within that, there's a huge variety of activities that our fellows are doing. But the important thing is that whatever they're working on, it's important to their community. It's important to the people in their community. And they have a track record of working on these issues over their career. And what Community Solutions Program is supposed to do is, and what it does, is it matches you with an organization in the United States that works on something similar to what you're working on. So it's really meant to ramp up your professional development in your chosen area of community development work, to connect you to like-minded people who are working in your field around the world, and specifically to give you mentorship and support with an organization in the United States that is addressing the same issue you are, but in the US context, in the context of a different community. So it's an opportunity for you to learn more about how these issues are taken up in your context, in the US context, and to build relationships and professional contacts that hopefully will last your career and be a real benefit and a boon to you. As a reminder, the application for the 2025 Community Solutions Program is currently open. It will be open. I believe we've just crossed the 2-week mark. So you have till November 13th to get your applications in. That's November 13th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're hard at work putting together those essays, just remember the deadline is Wednesday, November 13th. And with that, I'm really excited now to bring on the reason we're here and the main piece of this conversation, Lovina Shaw, who is one of our alumni, like I said, from Jamaica, and has recently completed the Community Solutions Program, to share a little bit about her experience doing that and to give a little bit of her perspective as someone who's been through this process. So Lovina, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the Community Solutions Program. I love the IREX team. You guys are like a second family. So definitely love it being here.
Well, thank you so much. If you could just start by giving a little bit of an introduction about yourself, where are you from, what year you did CSP, where you were placed in the program, and what is sort of the work you do in Jamaica?
Okay, all right. So my name is Lovina Shaw. I'm here in the beautiful island of Jamaica, and I was a part of the Community Solutions Program in 2023. So just last year. And I was placed in Minnesota, USA. It was absolutely a great experience. A little bit about what I did during the fellowship was being placed with a nonprofit organization that focuses on women and gender issues. In Jamaica, I am the deputy director of a nonprofit organization, Women of Destiny, that focuses on women and gender issues as well. where for Women of Destiny, we have empowerment sessions, mentorship sessions, and advocacy sessions, helping young ladies and girls in whatever challenges they're faced with, overcoming their trauma, and stepping out into the purpose that it is that they have destined for their lives.
Well, thank you so much for that intro, Lavina. I kind of want to jump off of that with your work that you were doing in Jamaica before you started CSP, and then the work that you did with your host organization in Minnesota. What was that like for you to, I guess, be connected with that organization? What were the things you were doing every day, and how did that help you in your own professional development, and then the work you continued to do when you went back?
Okay, so with the organization that I was placed with, that their name is Isirun, it was that on a day-to-day basis, I didn't have to go in office every day. Only 4 days out of the week, I went in office and I was able to speak with different deputies, different directors for the different departments that they had, learn how it is that they go about accomplishing whatever projects they have set out, and as it is that they are working towards their project, also helping the planning of it. So that equipped me with a different mindset and different work ethic as to how it is that for my organization in Jamaica, how it is that we can go about planning, implementation, and execution of our projects. So that was absolutely great. With the work that I did there, outside of the host organization as well, I was given the opportunity of meeting with other organizations and other government agencies that do similar work. And with that level of networking that was open, I got different strategies as to how it is that we can work together, whether partnership or just them passing on information to me and me passing on information to them as to how it is that we can help women who face any challenges. Once it is that I got back to Jamaica now, I was able to actually partner with a childcare facility here in Jamaica and have host a whole mentorship project for 3 months. It was absolutely amazing. Loved it.
Oh, that's really great to hear, and I love that you carried over those relationships from your organization in Minneapolis and found a way to connect that to the work that you were doing in Jamaica, where there was overlap. I would love to know a little bit more about your experience in Minneapolis, because a big thing that a lot of our applicants have is, okay, you're going to live in this city. The city may be very, very different from where you are from. In this case, Minneapolis is, for those who don't know, a very cold place, and Jamaica is not a very cold place. So there's that element. It's the element of fitting into a new community. It's an element of finding the things that you love in your new host community for the 4 months that you're in the United States. How did you approach living in Minneapolis, and what was it like getting used to that?
Okay, one thing that I definitely must applaud the Community Solutions Program for is our community liaison officers. That is absolutely great. So, being placed in Minneapolis, of course, as Daniel just highlighted, completely new environment. I didn't know anything, but I had a community liaison officer and he helped with every single thing. That's from my housing to my transportation to where are the best outlets to get food, everything. So that person definitely played a intricate part of how it is that you adapt. And that was very, very good. So on a day-to-day basis, I was around other fellows. That's something else as well. We have our pod group where all of us who are in the same state, we work together with each other. If it is that we were going to the office on a particular day and all of us were traveling, instead of just one person leaving out, everyone would leave and get a bus. Once we are on the bus, we know where it is that we're going. Using Google Maps was very important because, of course, I don't know the area, but as it is that I use Google Maps, I was able to locate, okay, all right, this is where I'm going. After that, with your host organization, with mine specifically, I had the opportunity where instead of each and every day having to take public transportation to get back to my apartment, my different persons within the organization, they offered me a ride home. So that was absolutely great as well. And also have fun. That was something else that was great. Something great in Minnesota was that the Mall of America. I did not know that they had a mall that big. So going to a mall that huge, enjoying yourself in the midst of everything, and I learned of the Mall of America through alumni and also through my community liaison officer. So it's great, the community itself that you will have around you, knowing and understanding that with the Community Solutions Program, you're not in it by yourself. You have support. So you have someone who is actually there, who lives in the state, who knows the state. And then, of course, you have other fellows who are there with you, which is absolutely amazing. Because when you have your colleagues there and they are sharing that, okay, they want to go here or they went there, and you get to go with them, that is absolutely great for you to do. So it's all about keeping your engagement with each other and knowing that you will have support as it is that you're going through.
There's a lot you said there that I want to dig into. I think a common question we get from interested applicants is in terms of like finding a place to live or covering living costs, or how do I kind of exist in this experience for 4 months. I would love if you could get into, I guess, what support, can you tell us a little bit about the support that the fellows receive on a month-to-month basis in terms of like the monthly stipend, in terms of the ASPE, emergency health coverage, that sort of thing? And then also, what was the process of you finding a place to live? I know you said that you worked with your community liaison, and for those who are new to that term, in each city, we find U.S. citizens, Americans who live in that community to help the fellows sort of integrate and get to know the place. And that's our team of amazing volunteer community liaisons. But I'm wondering if you could share a little bit more about what that was like on a month-to-month basis for you, Lovina.
Okay. It was absolutely great. On a monthly basis, based on the city that I was in, I was allocated a set amount of stipend that could be used towards my housing fee, that's your rental, towards my transportation, and towards my food. So once it is that I knew, um, for me, it wasn't the easiest finding somewhere because I started looking for a place from before I left Jamaica. But based on the interaction between me and my community liaison officer, he was letting me know that the places that I was suggesting to him, they weren't in the best communities. So he wasn't recommending for me to go there. So I was like, okay, all right, when I get there, we'll see. So during the week of orientation, meanwhile, we were still in Washington. I was still searching, wondering, what am I going to do? But luckily, what CSP offered was that from moving from Washington to Minnesota, I was placed in a hotel, and I had other fellows in Minnesota who, of course, also didn't get a place to rent as yet. So, as all of us were in that hotel, what we did, we were shared links. That is something that our community liaison officer did. He shared different links with us as to different places that we can find. And as it is that we went through those links, I called places and spoke with different persons. And once it is that I spoke with them, scheduled dates to actually come and look at their areas. And my community liaison officer helped us around to look at different places. And we found one that it is that we actually liked. And instead of just me alone renting, I was able to rent with two other fellows because just to lessen the stress that anybody else would have. And that was absolutely great. So sharing rental with someone else, especially someone who is in the program, that is also a great thing that you can keep in mind. Be open to that. That was a very great experience because this was looking at it, a Jamaican plus Africans were two different ethnicities, but we were adaptable. We understood each other's, we gave each other's our boundaries, and we helped each other along the way. With the monthly stipend, as it is that we got our stipend, we just knew what was budgeted for rent was for our rent. We kept in communication with our landlord, made sure that we paid everything on time, and with groceries, went on our weekly or bi-weekly shopping for groceries, had our groceries in our home. And whenever it is that we wanted to go out to eat, we also knew that, okay, we have to see whether or not our stipend actually allocated for that. And then we moved, enjoyed ourselves as it is that we needed to. But one thing I would definitely recommend for persons to do is take the opinion of your community liaison officer seriously. It's very, very great, because it ended up that I ended in a community where it was absolutely amazing. It was quiet and peaceful. So that was something that I really and truly loved. And then otherwise from that, it's also great experiencing different weather. That was something good. So Minnesota is definitely cold, but went to Goodwill and I got a good amount of clothing for a very fair cost. Didn't have to buy something expensive or anything like that, because I knew that coming back to Jamaica, those warm sweaters and everything would not work here. No. So I was like, okay, not about to be spending a whole lot on these, but we're able to get some nice clothing and wear those when it is that it's needed. But just keep in mind that you have support. And then on a monthly basis, what also was very good was hearing from my advisor. So my advisor would reach out and do a check-in. I had my mentor as well. She would reach out and check how it is that things were proceeding, how it is that I was managing with the course, how it is that I was managing with my practicum, going in office for my host organization. And as it is that I got these monthly check-ins, I was able to speak on any basis. When it came on to health wise, I had the opportunity. Once it is that I was not feeling well, I had the opportunity of getting to visit a doctor. Once that they are in the area, could go get whatever help I need. So it's always great to know that you're not doing it by yourself.
I think that's a really important note you ended on. I think that how the program is really designed for fellows is, yes, you're in a new environment, but we really try and surround you with many, many layers of support, from the community liaison who's there, from your people at the host organization who's hosting you, from the other fellows you're there with. No fellow is in a city by themselves. Every fellow has a group of other fellows who are there with them that they can rely on, as Lovina illustrated. And then also you have someone on our team who you can contact and is your point person at IREX and your point person at the organizing team, who's there to help troubleshoot whenever you encounter things. You also mentioned, I think, something that's really important, and we'll get to certain what makes a great candidate later on, but this ability of being able to adapt to new experiences. I think one thing about this program, right, is that it's a development program. It's meant to put you, as Deidre says, on your growing edge, and to help you kind of figure out where's that point where you can learn and be pushed a little out of your comfort zone so that you can grow and become a more resilient and dynamic leader and professional. I just want to say to those in the chat, if you have any questions for Lovina or have any questions about the program, please go ahead and post them and we will get to them at the end of our conversation here. Lovina, I want to ask really quickly, thinking back to when you were applying for this program, what made you want to do this and what were you hoping to get from your community solutions program experience?
Okay, the main thing that made me want to do it was the experience that others told me about it, but also seeing for myself the diversity that it opened. That was definitely something that really and truly intrigued me about it. I was like, okay, I'm going to the US, but I'm not going to be around just US citizens. I'm going to be around citizens from all across the world. That is definitely something that intrigued me. And also knowing that the mandate behind my organization, I'm like, okay, I know that whatever issue I'm facing here in Jamaica when it come on to women and gender issues, of course others face similar issues, but what are their tactics? So being open minded to the fact that yes, different countries, same issue. So, of course, different ways. So, that was definitely something that really and truly pushed me to say, you know what, I definitely want to apply for this and I want to see what it is like. What I was expecting was definite growth and learning a whole lot. That was something I was expectant of, and that was something that I definitely got. Oh boy, if it's something I love about CSP is that you learn a whole lot. It gives you a whole lot of different strategies, tactics of how it is that you can develop yourself as a leader and how you can really and truly represent your country. That is also something else. And just as Daniel touched edge on, that Dr. Deidre always speaks on, the growing edge, being on the growing edge. CSP definitely, it puts you there, and for me personally, it makes me want to stay there, nowhere else, because the growing edge is where you're at and you're seeing different things to just push you into growing into a better version of yourself. And that is always something for you to look at, to know that okay, this is an opportunity that can help me to be a better me. And who doesn't want to be a better person, much less a better you? Come on, that's it.
Thank you for that, Lavina. I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about, you mentioned also the other fellows who were in the pod with you. And obviously, each year we have a group of fellows, a cohort of fellows who come from many different countries around the world, every continent, to have this experience together. And so it's an opportunity. Yes, you're building relationships with your host organization, United States, but you're also building relationships with colleagues and peers who are doing similar work to you, but in a totally different environment. What was it like to meet the other CSP fellows, both within your pod and within the wider cohort? And what has that done for you in the time since you finished your fellowship?
Ah, it was absolutely amazing. It was just the best thing ever because knowing you hear about someone else's country, but meeting someone who is actually representing their country, that definitely changes your view. That was definitely something that I loved about it. The fact that instead of me just hearing of countries in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, it was more so no, instead of just hearing about you guys, I am actually meeting someone from the country. So I'm hearing directly from a person who lives there, how it is. And that was definitely something that I loved. Even since after, the community, the networking that it provides, that also is absolutely great. After, it has been that it's a whole support. These are persons that I can be turning to. As it is that I am going through doing different things here with my organization and even outside of my organization, you make friends. That's the next thing. Making a friend from a different ethnicity is absolutely amazing. I love it. So I have friends. Yes, we're on different time zones, so communication is not the easiest, but we still communicate with each other. We get to know how each other, what it is that we're doing, and also you see where it is that you have support. You have support with persons who are not even in your country. So, as it is that your organization or whatever it is that you are working on, you have persons from all across the world that you can be calling on to help and to show some form of support to you as it is that you are venturing into your new projects. So, that is something else that I absolutely love about it.
I think that's very well said. And I am something we really try and emphasize in the alumni experience is you really are joining a network of CSP alumni who've been around for 14 years since the beginning of the program, and it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. And those individuals are all very invested in each other's success and growth, and really feeding into the arc of their lives and careers moving on. It really is a powerful, dynamic community, and will continue to be. As we get in, Lavina, now we have a lot of people who are applying for the program and are drafting their applications now. What do you think makes a successful candidate for the Community Solutions Program? What qualities or characteristics or attitudes are important?
I would say a characteristic that would definitely make a successful candidate is your adaptability and your openness. That are definitely traits that you do need as it is that you're venturing into this. Otherwise, from that, I would say be true to yourself. Don't put on a show. Don't try to be someone else. That's something that I love about the CSP is that you're not going there to behave like anybody else. You're going there to be your true self. So once it is that you put forward your an authentic version of yourself and you go on with that, that really and truly can make you a successful candidate. And don't be too hard on yourself either, in the sense where CSP, everyone from CSP, we understand that we're imperfect beings, we will make mistakes. So understand that no one will hold that against you as it is that you venture into this. And as it is that you're doing your application, put in your best, do your best, and show forth, speak of yourself in the way in which it is that you would want for someone else to speak about you. When it is that, for example, someone is introducing you to a group of persons, how would you want to be introduced? Speak of yourself highly. And of course, as I said before, just be you.
No, I think that's excellent advice. Uh, Last couple questions before we open it up to the group, and we already have some questions here in the chat, which is wonderful. Obviously, everyone who does CSP, they have work in their home countries that they are having to negotiate while they're in the United States for 4 months. At 4 months, yes, it's a good chunk of time. I'm wondering if you have any advice on how you balanced staying connected to your work in Jamaica while you were in the United States for your CSP practicum, in a way that allowed you to be fully present and focused on your practicum, but still maintaining and keeping up with what you needed to do in Jamaica. How did you approach that challenge?
Okay, what I did was that with CSP, there is a set allocated time that is assigned to you to say that, okay, this is the number of hours that we want for you to be given to your host organization. So I literally was very strict on myself about that time. I was not about to allocate time that I knew that I didn't have. So with that being so, once it is that I knew that I gave off my time to my host organization to the amount that I should, I made sure that I kept in contact with my team members in Jamaica about whatever it is that they were going through, whatever challenges, whatever projects were being worked on, just kept in communication with that. One thing that I would do, for instance, say I get up on a Monday or any day in the week, and I know that, okay, I have work back in Jamaica that I need to finalize on. I would do that first before I leave out for work to the host organization. And once I finish that, go to the host organization. So all my time is to them, and I don't have to be going back and forth. And once it is that I made it home, okay, whatever I needed to do with my CLI courses, of course, get those done also, and just have that go on as a routine. So make sure that I managed my time wisely, and whatever time I did allocate, if I said to someone in Jamaica that, okay, the time difference, luckily for me, for Minnesota and Jamaica, we were actually on the same time up until November. That is when Minnesota went an hour ahead of Jamaica. But before that, it was on the same time. So that wasn't an issue for me. But I saw for my other fellows who were from Africa that it was a big difference for them. But what I saw that they did was that once they set a time with anybody back home, they stuck to that. If you weren't able to make it, okay, sorry, we're busy. But they made sure that they allocated time that was feasible for them, and they emphasized to persons how important it is that you stick to the time that I've given. And of course, once you have that time, sit, accomplish what you need to accomplish, and then move forward with what it is that you have to do in front of you. So that's the best way.
I think that's really well put. Last question, Lovina, before we get into the questions from the chat. If you could just give one piece of advice to those who are completing CSP applications now for how to be successful in that process and how to approach it through the end of the next, just under 2 weeks we have left, what would that advice be?
My advice would be take your time. Make sure you read through carefully what the questions are asking and you answer those questions. Answer what is asked of you in the application, and be don't use AI. Don't go ahead, write for yourself, express yourself, and let it be, as I said beforehand, you are showing your true self. But take your time to understand for yourself what the question is and asking, and make sure that you are answering those questions. And for example, any amount of word count that is requested or anything, meet it. It's great when it is that for persons going through the application, they see where it is that you actually stick to the requirements that is being put before you.
Oh, very well put. And I think especially your point about AI is always worth repeating. That is a big, it's a rule that we have for the application, that the use of AI will invalidate your application. So just again, make sure that you're telling your story and being authentic in your own voice and in your own words about your experiences. But Lovina, thank you so much. I think everything you said was extremely valuable. I think both for future fellows and for those applying. I think that there was a lot there to really take away from. And again, thank you for making the time to share it here today. I want to get in now that we have a good little group of questions here. There are a couple I think that are more cut and dry that I can answer quickly that I'll start with, and then some, Lovina, that I would love you to weigh in on. We have here from Thelma, what if I have proof of English from the Anglo-Saxon University I attended for 3 years? Will I still need to take the English test if selected? To give some context, finalists, i.e. fellows, need to provide proof of English language proficiency because this is a practicum that you're conducting at a professional organization in English. So you need to be able to in order to contribute and to get the most out of that experience, you need to be able to speak English at a professional proficiency. And there are a few different ways you can satisfy that requirement. One is through a test, TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo. The other is if you are from a country where English is the native language, or if you have attended or you have a degree from a university in which English was the principal language of instruction. I think all of these are super personal. So I think I would say, Thelma, it depends on your university and where you did it and what your course was and what your degree was and all of that. I encourage you, if you have questions about this, to reach out to our team at apply.csp@irx.org with more details about your university and what you did and a little bit about your background, and we'll be able to kind of give more specific advice. I would just say, though, as a general note for everybody, a reminder, you do not have to show this at this point in the application. Right now, all you need to do is submit the application. And I know this is a point of concern for a lot of folks because, it's a big thing, you have to take this test, et cetera, et cetera. But I would just encourage you to take one thing at a time. If you get to the point where you are a fellow and you're a finalist and this is something you have to do, then yes, our team will be able to support you and take care of that. I would encourage you. The application is big enough on its own. Focus on submitting the application and working on your essays, and then we'll get to that point where you can work on the test. We also have here 3 questions from Nora. One of which I can answer very quickly, and the other I would like you, Lovina, to weigh in on. One, do you have a key priority area for this year? The answer is no, we do not. We have fellows who work on every sort of community development issue you can imagine. I think whatever you're working on, I'm quite sure we've had fellows who either have work on that or are working on it now. I think your work has to fall under one of the four main program themes that I mentioned at the top of our time together. As long as you can reasonably align it under one of those, and again, it's not meant to be like a gotcha thing. Those are four pretty broad umbrella categories for a reason. Your work is totally legitimate. So this isn't meant to exclude anybody. I think really all forms of community development work have a place within the program. But the second two are something I think you have experience with, Lovina, which is, can we choose a host organization ourselves? How does that process work? And does the program allow a mix of research and, I guess, practical, which I'm interpreting as like program management or project experience with the host organization? Lovina, can you reflect a little bit on how you got matched with your host organization, what that process was like, and then how did you mitigate or negotiate what you would be working on with your organization, what you would be working on?
Okay, for the host organization, what I did was that I gave recommendations as to the host organizations that I had observed online and that I was interested in, that to follow along the lines of what I study. They weren't the organizations I was matched with, but that I'm very grateful for, because for I was explained it was explained to me that, okay, for the CSP, it depends on whether or not that host organization is actually registered with IREX as a host organization, because not every nonprofit across the US is a host organization. So that was it. But didn't choose it myself, but I'm grateful for the one that I was matched with, because their work ethic was definitely straight in line with what I was doing, and actually even broadened more than what I was doing. So definitely opened a wider scope for me. With the mix of research and practical experience, that is between you and your host organization. I got the chance to do both. So I was able to sit, do all sorts of research with them, go through all sorts of details in regards to whatever paperwork information I needed, in regards to how I need to go about different things. I was invited to different events and different project launches and so on. And as it is that I went to these functions with them, representing their organization and, of course, my country as well, I got the opportunity to go ahead and network with different persons outside of their organization who do similar work, and also do research with those organizations and individuals as well. As I did that as well, different practical experiences, definitely had the chance of doing that also, because with projects that they were working on, was able to work with them in getting their projects implemented, planning of it, and all of that. So it's up to you and your host organization.
No, thank you for that. And just to kind of put a button on that, yeah. So you don't pick the organization. Essentially, we have a team that will help, that will hear from you. Okay, what are you interested in working on? What do you work on? And then we have organizations that we work with who then we also say, hey, we have this person who wants to do XYZ. It sort of aligns with what you want to do. And it's a process of negotiation where we find an organization that really aligns with what you want to do and can give you the experience that you're saying you want, but also an organization that will be well received to have you contribute to it, because you're joining an organization, you're contributing your skills and your experiences to them. And so it's really kind of a two-way street. And then from there, as Lovina said, you negotiate a work plan together. You figure out, okay, what is the scope of work? What am I going to be doing every day? What do I want to do? What is advantageous to me? It is, once you get to that point, a very flexible, communicative, two-way sort of thing there. We have a question here which I can take really quickly, from Hilaria, and it's good to see you, Hilaria. Hilaria is a CE alum who wants to know, are CE alumni eligible to apply for this program? I would say there's nothing that prevents you, if you are in line with, in compliance with our other eligibility requirements, and you're a CE alumni in good standing and you've completed your 2-year home residency requirement. I would say, though, Hilaria and any other CE alumni who are thinking, but to talk to your IREX advisor first about this, because both programs are very similar structurally. And I think it just has to make sense for you and to do a sort of experience like that again. So just take time just to consider that carefully. But there's nothing preventing you as long as you are in compliance with the rest of our requirements. We have a question here from Yvonne. Are there any skills that you had prior that you found were very useful when working with your host organization? So Lovina, would love if you could take that. Was there anything that you had from your previous work that you found especially helpful when you started working with your organization in Minneapolis?
Yes, so there definitely were. One that I remember in particular was the fact that I'm very media oriented. I am in charge of marketing for my host organization in Jamaica. So that was definitely one aspect where they asked my opinion, and I definitely got a chance to work with their media specialists in regards to what it is that he was posting, and learn different tactics from him, as well as share and participate in different posts that they were making, as and so on. And otherwise from that, also with the different ways in which for my organization in Jamaica, how it is that we go about or empowerment sessions, showing them those different tactics as well, and also asking for them to show me their tactics. So both ways on that. And definitely this. I'm a great communicator and I love networking. So with the all the networking that it is that I was doing, as it is that I started talking to different persons, even when they didn't introduce me to persons, on that basis, I went ahead to connect them to other persons in Minnesota that did similar things. So that was something else that I did when it comes on to just using the different skills. Because one thing I always looked at it as was that they are pouring into me. What more can I pour into them? So that is great for you to do.
No, I think very well put, Lavina. We have here one that I can take really quickly. Can one apply for the Community Solutions Program and the Mandela Washington Fellowship at the same time? You can certainly apply for them at the same time. If you receive both, you might have to make a decision. I think that, again, this all really depends on, I don't know off the top of my head when Mandela Washington Fellowship's practicum is and if the dates contradict, but obviously you can't do both. So at the same time, if they do, it really is just about figuring out which program, which experience offered by each program really makes the most sense for you and what you're looking for in your career and in your development. So we can, I think, leave that one there. Question here from Eleanor, which I think we can also maybe weigh on. Is it more advantageous to have a personal community organization before applying? And by that, I think you mean have an organization that you founded or started. Is that an advantage to you in the application? And what up versus, let's say, you work with an organization that you didn't found? I don't think there's a particular advantage to one or the other. Our requirement in the eligibility requirements is that you have at least 2 years of volunteer or professional experience within the realm of community development. And sometimes that can be that you maybe founded an NGO or founded an organization and you're the executive director or whatever, and that's how you did that. Or it can be that you worked on one and that you're on a team of a pre-existing organization. Both are different, both are valid. There's not one that is better than the other. I think going back to what Lavina said in her advice, what really matters is that you're able to tell the truth about your story and what you're looking for, to articulate your experiences clearly and specifically, to show the impact of your work and to show how being a part of this program will really benefit and help you in your career and make sense for where you want to go. Lavina, do you have anything you want to weigh in on that?
Well, what you said, Danielle, is absolutely true because I remember being there. I don't own the organization, so that's it. It's not my own personal one. And when it came on to different persons that were a part of my cohort, I saw it where it was that they were just working within different organizations. Some were just working and some were aspiring towards it. As what it is that they would want to do for themselves, what they would want to start. So, as you said, Danielle, it's not about you having your personal one, but it's how it is that how the Community Solutions Program would actually help you towards what it is that you're aiming for.
No, wonderful. There was one more question here, and I kind of I found it again. One moment, let me pull it up here. We had a question about the program themes. What were the 4 focus areas for the program? And the answer is democracy and human rights, environment, peace and conflict resolution, and women and gender issues. I encourage you, if you haven't, to check out our website, which is scrolling here down on the screen below, and it will have all of our eligibility requirements and more details about this. I want to say about the theme, because sometimes we get some blowback whenever we talk about it, or at least follow-up questions, where it's candidates feel like their work has to align 100% with each theme, or it's going to be a problem. Let me tell you, release yourself from that anxiety. That is not the case. There's a lot of overlap within these themes. Nobody works 100% within one. It's not meant to exclude, it's meant to categorize broadly so that we can connect you with other people who are more or less doing things that are similar to you. But I'm really not going to be surprised if maybe your work overlaps 3 or all 4. It's just when you're applying, pick the one that you think, okay, if I had to pick one to assign myself to, I'll go with this one. But it's not going to limit you. There's not an advantage in the application process to picking one over the other. It really is just a descriptive measure. So I would encourage you to kind of approach it that way. We have a couple final questions here. One, actually, I think that I'd like your thoughts on, Lovina, and then we will close. We have here from Mira, what were some challenges you faced when implementing your project and how did you overcome them? And by this, Mira means the Community Action Project. So when fellows are finished with their 4-month practicum in the United States, they return back to their home country and they implement an original project that they have been developing since the start of their time in the program. And that's like the capstone piece. And once you finish that, you're officially an alum. Lovina, I guess in response to Mira's question, what were some challenges you faced doing your CAP and how did you navigate that?
Wow, I love that question. Thank you so much for that. CAP was one of the hardest. Whew. Some of the challenges, financial challenges, otherwise from that, um, human resources, the number of persons who I expected to have on board as opposed to the number of persons who did come on board. And just overall the time period, I had it allocated that, okay, I would have it start, I think it was, yeah, from the December that I come back, but that didn't work out at all. Had to delay it based on the financial issues that I was faced with and the lack of human support. But one way in which it is, how did I go about overcoming it, is understanding this. With your CAP, it's not something that is etched in stone. So your for your CSP plan, as it is that you write out your CAP project and everything, persons from the RX team don't expect that it has to be exactly like how you write it out. So you don't put that on yourself. That was something that I had to come to recognition to, like, okay, it's not going to go the same way I planned it, but adapting. So when it came onto the finances, instead of all that I had budgeted to say, okay, if I get this amount of funds, I would be able to do this, I went ahead to just go down, just put it down lower and actually make it fit the budget that I did have. When it came on to human persons not being around or not being available, I went ahead to let it be that whoever it is that I had, utilize them in different areas as opposed to just one assigned area, as I'd said that I would. And when it came on to just overall the delay with the time and everything, knowing that, okay, by June, my CAP had to be finished. I had to have my project review ready to be submitted and everything. I was like, okay, let me stop spanning out everything. So instead of a one session where I would do some activities, I did whole lot more activities in one session as opposed to having them span across the time period that I had originally set up for. So it's great when it comes on to the different skill set that you learn from CLI. That definitely helps a whole lot with me, and also your adaptability, knowing and understanding that okay, it is that I just have to change and navigate how it is that I can move forward. And the next thing that I loved was that I still had support. So you have literally CAP workshops. That was absolutely amazing. So as it is that we were having these CAP workshops, I would go be able to speak about the challenges, and different persons were giving me their advice as well. So knowing that you have your support, same way from CSP.
Well, thank you so much, Lavina, for that. I really, really appreciate it, and I know our audience really appreciates it. I just want to say again, thank you for making the time to be here. I know we went a little over. That's just a testament to the questions and the amount of interest there is. But I think everything you shared is really valuable, and I'm sure it will be useful to those applying. And again, thank you so much for joining me today here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel, for having me. It was absolutely great.
Wonderful. And just a note to the audience, if you want to review this recording, it'll be posted on LinkedIn and Facebook. Unfortunately, I can't have it saved on Instagram, but check it out over there if you want to review anything that was said. And if we weren't able to get to your question, I highly, highly encourage you to reach out to our team at apply.csp@irs.org, where we have team members who are available and ready to respond to your question in detail and connect you to what you're looking for. So as a reminder, the application is due November 13th. I am wishing you great luck with your applications, and thank you all again for making time to be here in your busy schedules, and wishing you a great rest of your day and week. And good luck. And we'll see you on the next one.